What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a magical Musketeer Fiendsmith deck profile. So I'm really excited to do something for you guys because this deck is an extremely powerful deck that can establish some absolutely incredible fields. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like in your name, description, every single video, gonna get signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Starfire. Starfire is definitely a 3-of in the build, and all of your magical musketeer monsters actually share an awesome common effect that if this card is on your side of the field, during either player's turn, you can actually activate magical musket spell or trap cards from your hand, essentially turning all of your magical musket spells and traps into hand traps, which is absolutely broken. This card also has a really cool ability: if a spell or trap card is activated in this card's column, you can actually special summon a level 4 lower magical musket monster from your deck in defense position, which is a really good effect to instantly help us get our copy of Caspar out on the field. We then play 3 copies of Caspar. Caspar is definitely a 3-of as well in the deck, and this card has an awesome effect that if a spell or trap card is activated in this card's column, you actually get to add a magical musket card from your deck to your hand, which is great to help you add cards like Desperado or Cross Domination directly from your deck to your hand off this card's effect. We then play a single copy of Doc. Doc is really good to help you recover cards out of the graveyard, because if a spell or trap card is activated in this card's column, you can actually add one of your magical musket cards from your graveyard back to your hand. You then play a single copy of Kid Brave. Kid Brave is amazing in the deck, but you only need a single copy of this card in this particular build because we're playing the Fiendsmith cards. And this card has an awesome ability that if a spell or trap card is activated in this card's column, you can discard a magical musket card to be able to draw 2 cards. We then play a single copy of Calamity. Calamity is extremely powerful in the deck as 1-of, because this card has a great effect that if a spell or trap card is activated in this card's column, you can target a magical musket monster in your graveyard and special summon in defense position just to help you swarm the board with more magical musket cards. We then play 3 copies of Fiendsmith Engraver. Fiendsmith Engraver is definitely a 3-of in the deck and one of the most powerful cards in the game currently. This card is a crazy powerful effect. You can discard this card to add a Fiendsmith spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can target a Fiendsmith equipped card that you control and a monster on the field and send them to the graveyard. And if this card's in the graveyard, you can shuffle one other light fiend monster in your graveyard back into the deck or the extract to special summon out this card, which is a really cool effect to be able to use, especially to be able to discard this card to add your copy of Fiendsmith Track from your deck to your hand, which is basically a rota for the deck. This card is amazing in the build for your combos, and it's absolutely crazy that all of your magical musket monsters are also fiend and light, so they work really well with your copy of Engraver and your copy of Requiem. We then play a single copy of Fable Lurel. Lurel is really good as a 1-of in the deck because when this card is discarded to the graveyard, you can special summon it, which works really well with our Fiendsmith Searcher in this particular deck to be able to use their track to be able to search this card from our deck to our hand and then immediately discard it with our copy of track, basically getting a free special summon and turning track basically into an E-Telly, which is amazing. We then play a single copy of Shavara. Shavara is really powerful in the deck as a 1-of to be able to basically use in this deck as a Unchained package. You only need this card and 1 Unchained trap card to be able to work in this deck. But this card is amazing because during the main phase, if this card's in your hand, quick effect, you can target a fiend monster or a face down card you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card. But while it's on the field, you can't special summon except for fiend, which is not that big of a deal. But if it's sent to the graveyard, you can actually set an Unchained spell or trap directly from your deck, helping you get to your copy of Abominable Chamber. We then also play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's definitely a 3-of in the build to basically just stop your opponent from touching the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is definitely a 1-of in the build just to stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play 2 copies of Cross Domination. Cross Domination is one of the most powerful magical musket cards in the entire deck, as if you control a magical musket monster, you can target a face-up monster on the field, and at the end of the turn, change its attack and defense to 0 and also negate its effects, which is an extremely powerful hand trap effect that you can activate directly from your hand if you control one of your magical musket monsters because all of them share that ability that if you control them on your side of the field, you can activate your magical musket spells and traps directly from your hand, making it basically a negate and a drop to 0 effect, which is absolutely amazing. We then play 3 copies of Upstart Goblin. I really like Upstart Goblin in the deck because it lets you draw a card, activate one of your copies of your magical musket's effect. Your opponent does gain 1,000 life points, but it's still really good to be able to use in the deck just to help you dig into the deck for the exact cards that you need. We then play 3 copies of Link Into the Vrains. Link Into the Vrains is an extremely spicy card in this deck, and it helps you link summon into your Link 1s extremely easily because it lets you special summon a monster from your hand, but negate its effects. Then, immediately this effect resolves, you link summon 1 Link monster using monsters you control as a material, including that monster, and this link summon cannot be negated. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when the monster is link summoned this way. And the Link monster you control is destroyed by battle of that card effect. While this card's in the graveyard, you can banish this card to add a monster from your graveyard back to your hand with the same original type as one of those monsters destroyed, which is a really cool effect because we play so many different Light Fiends that it's super easy to be able to recover one of your Light Fiends out of the graveyard of this card's effect just in case, but it's still amazing to help you go for your copy of Requiem or your copy of Max. We then play 3 copies of the Fiendsmith Tract. Tract is amazing in this deck as a 3-of because this card is basically Rhoda for the deck, letting you add a Light Fiend monster from your deck to your hand, then discarding a card, which is so cool because all of your different magical musket monsters are all Light Fiend monsters, basically being Rhoda for this build. You can also banish this card from the graveyard to be able to fusion summon a Fiendsmith fusion monster from your X deck using monsters in your hand or field, helping you go in for your awesome cards like Lacrimosa, which is absolutely amazing. This card helps out a lot in the deck, but you can also use this card to search your Fabled card so that you can basically discard it to the graveyard and get basically like an E-Telly off this card's effect, which is so cool. We then play 3 copies of the Fiendsmith Bats. Fiendsmith Bats is really good in the deck as a 3-of because this card basically gives you a token on your side of the field, as if you control no face-up monsters or the only face-up monsters that you control are Light Fiend monsters. You can special summon a Fiendsmith token to your side of the field that is a Fiend Light level 1, 0 attack and 0 defense. Also, you cannot declare attacks for the rest turn except with Fiend monsters. And if a face-up Fiendsmith monster you control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, while this card's in the graveyard, you can set this card back to your side of the field, but it's super helpful to be able to use this card to help you link climb, and it's basically free in the deck to be able to make your copy of Requiem, which is absolutely amazing. This card is really good in the deck as a 3-of, because we're basically only playing Light Fiends in this build, so this card is really helpful in the deck to help you just get the exact card that you need. The only non-Light Fiend monsters we're playing in the deck is our Unchained cards, but they're still so powerful in this deck. So, that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Abominable Chamber. Abominable Chamber is searchable off your copy of Shavara, which is why I play this card as a 1-of in the deck. It lets you special summon an Unchained monster from your hand or your graveyard, which is a really cool effect to get the exact monster you want back on your side of the field, like your copy of Rage, or even your copy of Yama or Shavara, depending on the situation. Usually you bring back your copy of Rage so you can keep link climbing, but it's still really powerful in this deck, just as a 1-of in the build. We then play 2 copies of Desperado. Desperado is amazing because if you control a magical musket monster, you can target a face-up card on the field and destroy it, which is such a powerful effect just to be able to pop a card on the field. We then play a single copy of Needle Dancing. Dancing Needle is just really good at helping you banish cards from your opponent's graveyard, as it lets you banish up to 3 cards in the graveyard, which is just really powerful to banish cards out of your opponent's grave. We then play a single copy of Last Stand. Last Stand is an awesome counter trap that has the effect that when your opponent activates a spell or trap card while controlling a magical musket monster, you can actually negate the activation if you do destroy that card, which is a great effect because this card is searchable in deck and a really powerful card. You then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is really good in the deck as a 3-of just to stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with our extremely powerful Fiendsmith's Requiem. This card is a crazy powerful Link 1 monster that has an awesome ability to only special summon this card once per turn, and during the main phase, quick effect, you can trigger this card to special summon a Fiendsmith monster from your hand or your deck. You can also target a Light Fiend non-Link monster that you control and equip this card from your field or your graveyard to that monster that you control as an equip card that gives it 600 attack points, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it instantly lets you summon out your copy of Fiendsmith to your side of the field, which is a really powerful effect to instantly summon out that card to your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Sequentia. Sequentia is really good because this card is basically a walking polymerization, because during your main phase, you can fusion summon a Fiend Fusion monster from your X deck by shuffling its materials from your graveyard back into the deck, which is a really powerful effect to be able to use to instantly go in for the exact fusion monster that you need. This card is really powerful in the deck and helps you go in for your combos. We then play a single copy of Access Code. Access Code just pops multiple cards on the field and helps you go in for game, coming out as an absolutely massive boss monster. One copy of Appaloosa. Appaloosa helps out a lot in this build, just to give you multiple monster negates. One copy of Anguish. Anguish helps you link climb. It's not a quick effect like your copy of Rage, but it still helps you link climb into your copy of Access Code, which is really nice to be able to do. We then play a single copy of Rage. Rage is a quick effect to be able to link away an opponent's monster, plus this card to step into a Dark Link monster, which is absolutely amazing. We then play a single copy of Yama. Yama is great because it's just super powerful as a combo piece in this deck, because if it's special summon, you can add an Unchained monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, essentially searching out your copy of Shivara. We then play a single copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is amazing in the deck. You can change this card out if you want to for a copy of, say, Nightmare Unicorn, but it's still really powerful to be able to play in this deck as a double interruption, because sometimes you'll just use your copy of Rage to step into this card, which basically turns it into an interruption with Rage, getting rid of a monster. SP Little Knight will then banish a card, and then again, when your opponent activates a card, you can just banish another card plus your copy of SP Little Knight, basically being 3 interruptions with just your copy of Rage and SP Little Knight. We then play a single copy of Max. Max is absolutely broken, as if this card is link summoned, you can activate one of these effects to either add magical musket spells or traps with different names from your deck to your hand, up to the number of monsters your opponent controls, or special summon magical musket monsters with different names from your deck up to the number of spells and traps your opponent controls, which is such a powerful effect to be able to use. This card is definitely a one-up in the build, and when this card resolves, you're usually just instantly winning the game. We then play a single copy of Lacrimosa. Lacrimosa is really good as a one-up in the deck, because this card is a really powerful effect that monsters your opponent control lose 600 attack points, and if this card is fusion summon, you can actually target a Light Fiend monster that's banished or in your graveyard and add it to your hand or special summon it, which is going to help you get an additional level 6 monster out on your side of the field, so you can go for your copy of Wave High King Caesar, which is absolutely amazing. This card helps out a lot as well because it also does burn damage during time, because if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle one other Light Fiend monster from your graveyard into the deck with the X deck and inflict 1200 points of damage to your opponent, which is absolutely insane. We then play a single copy of Desiree. Desiree is really good as a one-up because this card can negate multiple cards on the field and get absolutely massive. This card is really powerful as a one-up of the deck. Play a single copy of Necro Quip Princess. This card is a really good combo piece in the build, which is why I'm playing this card in the deck. We then play a single copy of Aerial Eater. Aerial Eater is absolutely broken. This card just requires 2 Fiend monsters with the same attribute, which we're only really playing Light Fiend monsters in the deck. That if this card is fusion summon, you can send a Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is an amazing effect to help you get the exact monster you need in the graveyard, like a copy of Engraver, which is so important to be able to do. And if this card's in the graveyard, you can actually banish banish 2 level 6 or higher Fiend monsters with the same attribute as each other from your graveyard, except your copy of Aerial Eater to special summon this card, which is a great ability. Then play a single copy of Wave High King Caesar, because this card is a double negate. And then we play a single copy of Typhon. Typhon is just absolutely amazing in the deck if you're going second. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is absolutely amazing. If you guys have never played a Fiendsmith Magical Musket deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try, because it's so powerful to be able to play, and it's absolutely broken how well they work together. So that's going to do for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.